Fabio, he teaches physics here.
All right. Good.
Better? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we can see some people. Some people show up. That's good.
Absolutely. So yeah,
There are two more, but
they're here.
Okay. Hi.
Yeah. Here also Fabio
Another one.
and
Okay. Fabio.
the students. Yeah.
So I think we can start. Hello,
Absolutely,
everybody.
Massimo.
Okay. All right. So those you guys, do you understand English sufficiently? Can you hear me? Do you hear me?
They can
Okay.
hear.
Okay. So today with us there is one of my friend. His name is Nicholas, and
Hello, guys.
Nicholas over there is a calling from Ukraine, from Kiev, in Ukraine, where there is a war, as you know. And Nicholas was telling us that last night there were a lot of missiles hitting Kiev, so they had to escape on the basement for protection. And as you know, Ukraine has been under attack for basically 1 year, and the fight has intensified, particularly in the last 2 weeks in that country. So, in Brazil, we are very lucky because, it's not like in Europe. In Europe, there have been so many wars, so many conflicts in the European history. And still today, I was talking before with Nicholas, through this war, we were pulled back 1,000 years, through the medieval, medieval war. It doesn't make any sense to have a war in our time. And actually, in the world today, there are 54 conflicts at the present. 54. Yeah, 54 active conflict in the world. So mankind is not at peace at all, right? So I don't know if probably your teacher already explained to you. I'm the CEO of the Global Peace Foundation. We are working in 24 countries around the world. In Brazil since 2010 in different programs and projects. Personally, I worked in 63 countries in my career. I've been working in this sector of the civil society sector for the last 40 years, all over the world. And always the motivation, the drive for me was really building peace, but practically, substantially. So for you guys, I have a question. Can you tell me where peace starts? Can you tell me that? What is your idea? This is my question to the young people there. Where peace starts?
Where does peace start, gente? Onde é que a paz começa? Vou perguntar para vocês. By dialogue.
By dialogue, okay, that is one step. Something else? Some more comments?
outra ideia?
A sociedade.
Hã?
Sociedade.
Onde na sociedade?
Cuidado.
At home?
All right. Who said at home? Who is it who said at home? Who is it? Stephanie.
Quem que está em casa?
Who said at home?
Pedro.
Pedro.
Pedro? Okay, very good, Pedro. Very, very good.
Very good, Pedro.
That is
And
that,
With the
Uh-huh.
family.
in the
With
family.
Other
Right.
answer.
Correct. Correct. Of course, you know, the family is composed by individuals, right? So you have many individuals in each family with different function and responsibilities, position, etc. But that is precisely the point. You know, the family, you know, the infrastructure families is the roots of society. So families together are building up communities, community are building up, you know, society are building up nations, nation by its historical developments develop what we have today as a world and mankind, etc. But the starting point is always the family. Now, you know, for those that they believe in God, for example, if you look at the Christian perspective, the family is the only institution that was created by God, you know, through the origin described in Genesis, you know, with Adam and Eve. All the other institutions that we know, anything, you know, from the prefecture to the ministry, the president of a country, or the king, or the emperor, are man-made in position and institutions. The only institution in which there was the finger of God has been the family and family relationship. So not only from a simple logical analysis that the family is the roots of everything, but also from a spiritual perspective, from a religious tradition, etc., that is present actually in all religion, tradition. The family is the pillar to build up anything. So the question is, if peace starts from the family, why we have conflict in society? Now there's the question. Means the individuals, they are responsible to build good family. Now, when you're looking today at the family situation around the world, the family is in crisis. We have many problems connected with the family all over the world. And if you notice, if you do some research, social conflict actually, they've been increased dramatically in the last few years, particularly among the young people. Why? Because the family is in crisis. You know, the average, for example, in Europe, of divorce, let's say in England, is more than 50%. The average of people that they live together but they never married is very, very high. So the concept of family imply responsibility. So when you marry with somebody, you are taking the responsibility to join the other person and together to build up a new reality that is this new family, and to have children and to contribute to build a society. This concept actually is getting less and less and less and less important in our modern world. And so we had to reformat family. So people, they try to find new formats of family, but they're failing dramatically because it's not working. You know, any society that doesn't have stable families or a good group of strong families end up in anarchy, in chaos, in conflict, in confusion, no hope, no future. You know, I always bring this example. Some time ago, I was doing a project in a public school of 850 pupils, students. It was a elementary school. And in that elementary school, they canceled the celebration of a Parents' Day. Why? Because out of 850, only 40 kids, they still have father and mother, mean parents. All the others, they were living with the grandmother, with the sister, elder sister, with the grandfather, with the uncle, with the aunt. So it was making no sense to celebrate Parents' Day. And that school was located, is still located in one of the most dangerous neighborhood in the city. So you can directly see the impact of dismantled families. So it's very important, you know, to have a clear concept of what a family is all about, and to prepare yourself as a young people to have that type of idea, the type of commitment, you know, to really build up, you know, a good family. A good family.
Massimo,
Yes.
I have some comments here. You started talking about families and responsibilities, and I think also about solid relationships and love, right?
Right.
And you made some comments about different kinds of families, and one of them is people that live together but they are not married formally, right?
Yes.
In different countries, to have different regulations about that. So
I know.
people that live together, right, they're considered as a family also. So by the perspective that these people have a strong relation and have love also, they also can constitute, they can create a family with on the basis of love and respect. And I think these two things are the most relevant things in this equation, right? So
Depends.
different societies.
Yeah, but depends, because what is important here to prioritize the set of values. In other words, you know, when some people fall in love, you know, they have this romantic or passionate love, etc. That lasts for a certain time. It's not forever. There are different grades of love in the life of a couple and in the family. So the system, the social system, needs stability, not based upon feelings, but responsibilities. So the marriage relation is a clear commitment that go beyond love. include responsibilities and love. What is the consequences of that? Is the build-up of more structured, responsible, and stable social system in relation among people. One of the problems that I personally face working in different locations, etc., is particularly in the last 10, 15 years, feelings are becoming more important than values, and feelings are taking the position of controlling values and responsibilities. Everything should be actually, with a, check and balance to see what is the final outcome, the final result. I know very well what are you talking about, because one of my kids, they have a child, they never married, right? They never went to the so-called contract, the contract of marriage, etc. But after 10, 15 years or something, they split, with certain consequences, because this legislation that you're talking about concerning couple that they are together for like 5 years, then they become mutually the beneficiaries of all the properties, etc. That is a compromise, because it became a usual behavior by people. So the legal system served the interest of the political platform, and the compromise based upon the needs and direction of people. But fundamentally, what I saw in my experience, the people that they go through a real marriage, with the ceremony, etc., blah, 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 their family, generally speaking, not always, of course, they have a long-lasting life, they say. So there is not a rule that is absolute in this, There is not a rule that said, okay, that's the way it must be. That's not the case. Ciao, ciao.
Okay, I have some comments on that, but since we don't have a lot of time, Jelly has a question, and then maybe we have another question to Nicola here.
Yeah, I was wondering, hearing you, if how are the families in this moment in Ukraine? How do they feel? If Nicola, what about his family? Where are they? If they are together? If they had to separate because of the war? How are things going? As we are talking about families, as we are talking about this strong relations, we saw on TV that many had to leave, and as you were there, I was kind of worried, and how are you?
It's really interesting questions. Thank you for this. I should say, so from the start of the war, we had a lot of couple living in a civil marriage or having a contract, as Massimo said. And from the start of the war till this period, it's been a year since people, especially women, going to the European countries and men staying here and protecting, and because we are unable to go to other countries, we should stay here. It's obliged by the law. They broke up. They broke up immediately because they never stand a long distance relationship. It's really hard for us to understand how to live a life with your someone who is related to you, but with a long distance for such a long period of time. And from my experience, I have a sister who's been with her boyfriend for nearly 6 years, and they broke up with during this war because they don't trust each other, they don't understand each other. He lives in a country which is under attack mostly every night, and she lives in a peaceful area, and they didn't understand each other. From time to time they didn't even talk to each other because they have different ideas about what's going on in Ukraine.
See.
So you
Sorry.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, because for us, as you said in the beginning, it's very hard for us here in Brazil. Imagine how would be a war, you know, that fortunately we have many problems, but this is not a problem. We can even imagine how terrible, you know, how harmful it can be for a family, especially, and for everybody, of course. But I was trying to put myself, you know, like, what if I had to live, or if I had to stay, who is living, who's, I don't know, you know. That's why that was my question, just to try to understand how things are going as we are, you know, in a year
Yes,
in this
and
situation. In a
I
year,
want to
so it's a long
say that
time.
the situation is going to be even worse because people who are staying in Europe, they get a lot of money from the government of the country they're staying in. And this amount of money are even bigger than we might have as a salary. So people prefer to stay in European countries rather than going back and work for Ukrainian people and Ukrainian society. And I think it's gonna be a big trouble after we're gonna have a victory, and they have no willing to come back to Ukraine to work here because they already see all the beautiful areas. They get free money, and no one wants to come back and work harder to rebuild the country.
And we are talking about, you know, about 4 million refugees out of Ukraine that they moved to Poland, to Hungary, to England, to Germany, to Italy, and they receive funding, as Nicholas clarified. A great majority, 90% of them, as Nicholas said, are women with children, or simply women that they left the war. So war is one of the most terrible beasts that they can really destroy families. That is very clear. And as Nicola was pointing out with the experience of his sister in a relation between a man and a woman, why there is the concept of family, why there is the concept of marriage? Because we need some kind of cement to crystallize, to fortify the type of relation. No, only love is not sufficient. It's not sufficient. Romantic or passionate love is not sufficient. It's not lasting. It's not lasting. The sense of responsibility, the sense of values support that relation, fortify that relation in time. Also, when this couple become a parent and then the responsibility of a child, even intensify even more the sense of responsibility and value, because they had to sacrifice for the sake of the child. You know, in marriage, sacrifice for the benefit of the others is a rule. You know, it's not the exception. In this situation of Nicholas and is a people, you know, one side is under incredible pressure, sacrificing their life to defend the nation. And on the other side, especially if they are not married, they have everything that they want. Nothing is missing anymore. And they find jobs also. The European unions create a system to integrate, the refugees from Ukraine. Another very important point is, especially the young generation, like the people on Nicholas' age from Ukraine, they are all very well educated. The great majority of them, they went to university. So their qualifications, they're qualified. So Europeans need qualified people, or people with the capacity to be qualified. So they create opportunities. Again, impacting even, another side of this population in this country in a very dramatical way. And these people, they're never going to go back to Ukraine because they go back to a country that's been basically destroyed when they have everything where they live now and all kind of support. So what I personally think the situation in Ukraine is creating something very similar to what we see in the Middle East between Israel and the Palestinians. There is a conflict that has been going on for generations. Why? Because Russian and Ukrainian, they are like cousins. They belong to the same roots culturally, historically, religiously. The root is the same. It's like the root between the Jewish people and the Palestinians. The root is exactly the same. They are cousins. They call themselves cousins. The Jew and the Palestinians. And they're fighting like nuts. They are, you put a Palestinian and a Jew together, you don't know which one is who. They look the same, even the infrastructure, their faces.
Massimo.
Yes, the time is off.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, time is off. Since we were discussing these deontic relations, thinking about different cultures and countries, legislation, and extreme situations like a war. So I'd like if you could continue this conversation next week. So please, Nicola, if you could join us next week. We have this, small window of time here to discuss different topics. I think it's very good as a food for thought, right? To bring up this kind of discussion. So please, I'd like to ask you to join us next week and continue this line of thought, and maybe you can share a little bit more about your culture with us.
Okay, sure.
Great. Very good. I know Nicholas because of business. I think we met always online. like with me, yeah, and Stephanie always online. It's been 4 years now, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And with Nicholas, it's 3 years.
Yeah.
I wish you stay strong, Nicola, and
absolutely.
we are very far from you, but we are very sorry for that. And we know you are very brave people, and I hope you can get rid of this terrible situation as soon as possible. And
thank you, guys.
if you next week, then I think the students would have a lot of more questions, to know more about you and your country and all these things, just to try to imagine what could be a war situation. This is really very far from our reality here. And sometimes, as Massimo said, in this century, we are still facing this, and it's very unbelievable sometimes.
Yeah.
And
so-
here, I don't know, do you have the same idea that news, you know, they don't come to us as frequently as they used to, because it seems that a year later, it's not,
It's no
hot
news
topic.
anymore. Yeah.
something like that, as it was, as it was not like interesting for anybody else to know.
Right.
So for us to have news from you these days, it's more rare.
Yeah. Any other comments, guys? No? So thank you, Nicolas. Thank you, Massimo. And so see you next week, hopefully.
See you,
Have
see
a
you
nice
next
week.
See you.
Yeah, see you next week, the same time. All right.
All right.
All right.
Okay, Nicholas, I can stay still
Bye-bye.
online with
Bye,
you.
guys.
Okay, ciao, Stephanie. Ciao, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Nicholas, your sister became a refugee?
Yeah. She went to Germany and she stayed there with her family. And it's really interesting because during the first day of war, they were in this specific area, which was completely demolished, and their house was only one who stayed. And the Ukrainians, and specifically my sister, she was so brave. She climbed out of the window. She looked at the tanks surrounded by their area, and she called our military forces and got specific coordinates for these tanks. So our military just demolished them completely. So this family had a chance to go back to the central part of Kiev and have a train to Germany straight away.
Amazing. And but she's married or not?
No, she wasn't married, but she was
Mhm.
in a civil marriage since 14, and it's not so good for our culture because I don't know, like the normal age, for my opinion, for the civil marriage or for living together is from 16.
It's too young.
Too young, yeah.
It's too young, it will not last. Because the people, they start to understand what they want when they are around 20, some degree of understanding, right? So marriage before that, even at 20 is too early. Marriage is a very serious thing, because when you create another human being, oh my God. Well, there is a potential you create a saint or another a psychopath, So,
What was your age when you get married?
I was 30.
Wow.
I was 30 years old. And still I got 5 kids. And my wife, she was 29. So actually we were like fiancé for 3-4 years. So I started at 26, she was 25, and then we married when I was 30, she was 29. So it's like a process, this culture of the Western world that's why even Putin can, go on top of this value crisis in the West, with all this LGBT and homosexual marriage. And I mean, there are thousands of different definitions of sexual behavior now, thousands. You get lost on this craziness because, the woke and cancel culture has been going on starting this crazy America in the academic world and in the posh world of America, you know, on the super progressists. They say we are the owner of the future. The future is all human rights at all level, you know, no duty, only rights. This is what they do. And then to justify, as Stephanie, because she's an educator, she was talking about love and the two people love each other, blah. That's feelings. Or feelings, emotional feelings, they are not sufficient, you know, to determine things. But this woke culture from America define feelings the most important issue to define human rights. So that's why gay marriage, that's why lesbian marriage, that's why these dragon ladies, you know, they can perform in public schools and all these things. So it become a degenerations of value because fundamentally they want to destroy the family. That's the target. The target, they want to destroy family because in the moment in which you destroy family, you create chaos, confusions, instability. So it's very easy to control society, to control people, you know, to control the direction where the nation should go. Any policy the Democratic Party in America established, the socialist in Europe, there's been exactly targeting that. Destroy values. The tool are the human rights to justify feelings. So there are some people, you know, they will say, oh, you hurt, I feel offended. And I said, what? Oh, because you said I feel offended. I said, so what? Shovel. You feel offended? Who cares? Do you feel offended? I'm sorry for you if you feel offended, but that's it. That's it. Deal with it. So what does it mean? I feel offended. So because you feel offended, I should not say my opinion or what I think or what I believe because you feel offended. Are you out of your mind? So Putin used that type of situation that is extremely negative and leverage on it. But you know, history is moved by the pendulum effect. Things go in one direction and they move in the other direction. And in the last few years, value they start to become more and more important. That's why this polarization ideologically also is taking place. It's a big confrontation, you know, between these two fronts. It's incredible confrontation or the polarization of position that they also instrumentalized politically and ideologically. You can see the vote in Italy. You know, the last election in Italy, the leader of the former fascist party of Italy that was reformed and became Brothers of Italy, no, Fratelli d'Italia, Meloni, she won, she even reached 55% of support and got 32% of the vote on the election. So she is the strongest political leader today in Europe by voting. Is the strongest. And she started to apply all this policy, you know, to support the family, protect the family, to regularize illegal immigration, to cut taxes, to improve the financial situation of businessmen and the small businessmen, all kind of stuff like that. And the country start to run again. It start to roll over again. And the leftists, they
Mhm.
become nuts. They in 100 days, they ask 410 or 20 times for somebody of her government to give up his position. Because everything that this government is doing, it go against the walk and the cancel culture, because people are fed up. Trump was a reaction of it,
Mhm.
but he went to the extreme. So they need some leader that is stable, that they are long history of credibility. I think next time Le Pen in France will win, for sure. And now in Sweden, conservative government was elected. Sweden has been run by the leftists for 100 years. Now, conservative, they won. In Poland, it's conservative. In Hungary, re-elected, conservative. In Croatia, conservatives. So the conservative government are starting to get in the front of the foreign policy, because the European Union is run by the socialists, the social democrat, and by the communist. So do you know what have been the last decision? They want to change the diet. So
To change the diet?
yeah, so they want to oblige European to eat insect.
What?
Yeah, right. What exactly? To eat, grasshoppers and worms, like they do in Malaysia. And one conservative told them, "But do you know why in this country they eat insect? They eat insect because they don't have anything else to eat. They're starving, not because they like it." So in the European Union, we were to cut down the use of consumptions of meat. So let's eat insect. So they fight on those issues. These people are losing their mind. They use too much acid during their 60 and 70 student revolution. Those guys are in power today. Another guy present a proposal that by 2035, no more gasoline car. All car must be electric all over Europe. So the battery, they create an incredible pollution, these electric car batteries.
Yeah.
And who produce these electric batteries? They can come from only one location from the world, China. So it means if all the cars, everything, transportation in Europe is run by electrical car, who will control the transportation of Europe? Is China.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody, yes, let's have electrical car, 60,000 euro by each car. Yeah, go. The European Parliament, right? Yeah. And the people, they start to say, oh, are you crazy? When I get 60,000 euro to buy a car, are you what? First of all. Secondly, Europe will lose millions of jobs. It create an incredible crisis. Thirdly, automobile industry is one of the major industry for Europe in all sector. So there was the re-evaluation. It did not pass anymore. It was blocked last week. But this is what the European Union is doing. So that what will happen with the European Union in due time, it will become a federation, not a union, a federative union in which each country determines its destiny, not the European Parliament. So the socialists, they hate that because the socialists, they want the state to control, not the citizen, not the vote, the state. But it will happen because there is no other way out. So
Yeah, changes coming.
yeah. And also big scandal in the European Union. I don't know if you know, but the vice president of the European Union, 12 members of the parliament were arrested because of corruption of millions. They were paid by Qatar to promote the Qatar was a country of human rights and everything was fine. When in Qatar, at least 4,000 workers died in building the stadium for the World Cup. There was no regulation, nothing. So Qatar paid members of the European Union from Belgium, from Italy, from other countries in cash to talk good and well about Qatar, public relation. They were all arrested, their process, and it will never end up. So you see corruption?
Is everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's not the characteristic of one nation or one people.
Exactly.
Jesus is everywhere. So anyway, they were very happy that you were in our call today. You know.
Thank you for invitation.
No problem. It was my pleasure. You know. So they ask you to be there again next week. By the way, did you see my video? I start to publish my video.
Yeah.
You saw them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. You saw all 4 of them or only one?
No. I started to see only one. Yes. Yeah. I really like it.
There are 4. You know, one is about 9/11. Another one, you know, with the guerrilla fighters in Africa. Another is working with the 110 young religious leaders in Italy. And the other one, I don't remember. I forgot it. So many stuff. But will be a series of 21 videos.
And you have a group of people who are supporting you in a process of making video and publishing it?
Is one of my partners has a studio, and then my son has a company for marketing, video production, website production, and is managing musicians, singers from Brazil, Europe, and Africa. So he moved back 1 year ago from Europe because, you know, he was sick, getting quite sick with hernia and other things. Because, you know, men, we don't take care of ourselves. Always we postpone it tomorrow. You know, we do it because there is our mother or our wife that stay behind our case. And so we go to the doctor, right? So he was postponing. Then he got very serious sick. He did have like 4 hernia at the end of the day because working on the computer all the time, you know, for 10 years. So I called him home from Luxembourg, and then he went through this whole operation. So he created a company now, and he started to rebuild the company from Brazil, start to make some money, you know. He works particularly with music. So one of his singers should have the gold disc soon.
Can you name
You know, the artist, yeah, I have to ask him because it is a kind of music that it make me tired when I
Is it
hear
pop
it.
music or?
No, it's all this hip hop and rap and particular African music, music
Mhm.
from Capo Verde, music mixed between Portugal, Capo Verde, and Brazil, different sounds. So you will give me the link. I will send it to you by WhatsApp.
Thank you.
So you can give a look, So he's just the manager of many different singers, and he get a percentage of the sale, percentage from the concerts, and he should go soon to Congo for 40 days. They call him there to build up the human resources of one of the singer. He's very famous singer because his father created a new. He passed away. The father is one of the biggest African singer in history. The father. And the son, one of the son, this guy, is carry on is a father, style, improve it. And he's a friend of my son, was in contact with group like Coldplay, for example, and things like that when he
Yeah, I
was
know.
in Europe. So he's known in the circle there as a manager. He's a manager basically. This is what he's doing. But I will ask him. I will send you the link. No problem. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, Nicholas. Thank you to you. And if anything, please contact me. And in any case, I will see you next week on Thursday.
See you next week.
Yeah, sure. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All the best. Ciao, ciao. Be
Ciao,
good.
ciao.
Be well.
Stay
Ciao.
strong. Bye
Right.
bye.
Ciao.